All right. It's another episode of Locked On Pelicans. I'm actually thrown off and don't even know how to do the intro here. I'm hoping everything sounds good. We're live in the arena after the game. I had some camera issues why we're a little bit late here, but the Pelicans get a just dominant win over the New York Knicks. There's really no other way to put it. The final score of 96-87. The Knicks couldn't hit a shot. Zion Williamson dominant. Defense looked great. Let's break it all down in a kind of bonus live episode of Locked On Pelicans. Y'all, let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. Here with y'all live on a Saturday night in New Orleans, in the Smoothie King Center. We're doing the show live here. I actually wanted to have the kind of camera turned around so you could see me standing facing the court, but had some camera issues there. So we're going to do it this way. We'll get those kind of figured out. Do me a favor in the chat. If things sound off, if it's too loud, if the mic's a little too hot, I can adjust it. This is a test, so we're not going to go too long in this show here, but I wanted to give this a try, hang out with y'all after just a really fantastic game from the Pelicans. There's not much else to say that they were, other than they just looked really good and were really dominant and kind of building off of that form that we saw in that first game against the Memphis Grizzlies, this time over a New York Knicks team. And there were some asterisks, as you could put, the Knicks on the second night of a back-to-back, what have you, but overall, really liked what we saw from the Pelicans in this game right here. So, of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast. Who else comes to y'all live in the arena right after the game? You know, I can pick up the laptop here and turn it all around, and you can see everything here. So we are actually trying to live stream. I'm hoping the internet here holds up too. That's a concern. So this is why we're testing it on a Saturday. If this works, we're going to do these more regularly after home games, as we've been doing the live shows after away games as well, where I'm at home in my studio. It's kind of cool to do it here in the Smoothie King Center. So I hope to do more of these, and maybe we'll get some guests or something like that on the show at some point, Kendall. And don't know if she heard me. Anyway, so let's get into it in this game here. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast, all the usual stuff, bonus show. We'll take it a little bit easy on everything here. I'll interact with the chat a little bit more towards the end of all of that. But when we do these kind of post-game recap live shows, I do want to focus on the big picture, less kind of interacting with the chat because I think it hurts the flow at times. But let's get into kind of the big takeaway here. The first part of this is there's two real big takeaways in this game. The first one is Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram can just be incredible at times. Zion Williamson with 24 points on 12 of 17 shooting. That's over 70%. Anytime the Knicks started to get some momentum, Zion basically answered. And after a kind of quiet first quarter from him, he turned it on, didn't he? Late, middle of the second quarter, when he started getting to the rim and finishing, you just see why he's unstoppable in this game, right? When you look at him at the rim and the finishing he has, it's just absolutely insane for a big man of that size. He is just so good. His touch around the rim, all of that. When you look at some of the best finishers in NBA history around the rim, or guys that are still in the league, a lot of them are guards. I think Kyrie Irving, for all his faults, is an amazing finisher at the rim. This is a dude that can score and has that kind of touch. And when you see what Zion is doing, the layups off the glass, the English, the way he contorts his body, all of that here is absolutely an incredible thing. And he showed it in full display. Got to the rim, finished it. There was one either in the end of the second half, first half, or somewhere in the third quarter, where it was definitely in the second half because the Pelicans were going a different direction, where he laid it in high and off the glass. And you just look at that and you go, my goodness, he was dominant. He was dominant. It's just really that simple. And the thing that impressed me the most from Zion has nothing to do with the offense in this game. It was simply the fact that he was like making an impact defensively. Remember the preseason game against Atlanta where he had the 5 steals? He was fighting. He was playing really strong defense. There were a couple of times here where you saw him matched up and switched on to like Jalen Brunson, a guard that should beat him, a guard that should blow by him. And instead, he's there defending him, not, I would say, at an elite level, but a good level. You get Zion trying on defense, giving you what he gave you on offense, an efficient 24 points. You're going to feel really good about this. Zion didn't go to the free throw line in this game, or he did twice, which was kind of weird for him, but to still make an impact, 24 points on 17 shots is still really, really good. Chip in 5 rebounds, 2 assists, not a single turnover for him in this game, and Zion was just awesome, right? Today's show easily should be like Locked On Zion or something like that. BI I also thought was very good. Not as good as Zion in this game, but very good. And when the Knicks would go on little mini runs and things like that, you saw Brandon Ingram start to get to his spots, those mid-range jumpers. Take those, make those. And that was perfect. Had an answer for the Knicks every single time. He had a couple of ridiculous shots right as the Knicks started to make a run in the third quarter, the beginning of the fourth quarter. He had that runner on the right side in the second half that he hit, and it was pretty ridiculous. Then he hit that the and one right at the end of the third quarter, I think it was. Those mid-rangers were great. One of the things I want you to keep in mind, though, when it comes to Brandon Ingram here is the 3 3-point attempts. 2 of those, and I don't remember the third one here, and actually let me look it up and see if we can find out. We can do this live in the moment here. Yep, he took 2 corner threes. 2 corner threes. Again, there's been a big emphasis on the Pelicans taking more corner threes. We've talked about how Brandon Ingram needs to take more 3-pointers. You'd like him to take some corner threes too, and he did that in this game. One of them went in, one of them didn't, but the fact that he took 2 corner threes is definitely an improvement. You'd like him, again, to eliminate some of the mid-rangers, and he had too many turnovers, 5 of them. The Pelicans only had 13, and he had 5. That's not great. So that's what you want to kind of see from him. He's hitting his shots. Refine that shot selection a little bit more, because I don't know if you can always make that as replaceable as possible or replicable as possible. So refining the shot selection a little bit, I think, would be a really good thing, a little bit more for him, but I'm pretty happy with what we saw from Zion Williamson in this game. So it was just overall a very good performance from your 2 stars who are supposed to carry you, particularly when a guy like CJ McCollum has an off-shooting night. 2 of 7 from 3, 4 of 11. So you got what you needed from your stars. Stars carry you to wins. That's the most important thing. And I think you got it against a Knicks team that was kind of tired, and other issues there too. But let's talk about the defense coming up here next in today's bonus episode, live episode. How cool is this from Locked On Pelicans? And we'll break that all down, and then we'll look at a couple things in the third segment as well. Right now, though, I'm excited to tell you about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers right now get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. And that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. You can bet the Pelicans on the money line. If you did, you would have won some money in this one. So go place a $5 bet, and win or lose, you get $200 in bonus bets. The app's super easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and tip off the NBA season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL, official sportsbook of Locked On. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, actually on Saturday today, live in the arena, as you can see after the game. We'll have better shots of this in the future, because it does look like this is working based on what you're all saying in the chat. So I appreciate y'all spending part of your Saturday night here with me after this game. This is really cool. So we'll be doing more of these. We'll have better shots where you can see the court. Maybe I'll stand and look a little bit more professional and things like that. But this is fun. This is cool. We'll be doing a lot more of these live shows and things throughout the season. I'm planning on doing them for as many away games as I can when I'm at home. Next week's a little tough for some of this, but then we'll get back to it the week after that. So I'm glad we're testing this all here. Thank y'all for being here, making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day, the #1 Pelicans podcast. So let's get into the defense here, because I thought that was one of the more, that's the wrong thing, one of the more impressive things of the team in this game. Look, we know they're a good defensive team, but this is a Knicks team that definitely has some scoring power. Julius Randle kind of always brings it when he plays Zion Williamson in the Pels. Maybe because, he used to be here. Maybe he wants to stick it to Zion Williamson a little bit as well. Sorry, here in the moment, a little less practice on things. So, Jalen Brunson's a good scorer, but the defense stepped up yet again. Some of this was the Knicks having just an off shooting night. They shot 7 of 37 from 3, 19%. They shot 36.7% overall. They couldn't hit a bucket. Jalen Brunson was 4 of 14. They actually didn't have a guy who made 2 threes, which is kind of ridiculous. Jalen Brunson was 4 of 14. Julius Randle was 4 of 15, right? Except when you looked at that, it's not just pure cold shooting. It's also the fact that they were playing good defense. A lot of those threes were contested as well. You saw Herb Jones even block one. The defense was just outstanding in this one. You also have Dyson Daniels out there being a good defender, and we'll look at him and Herb Jones here in a minute. So we don't need to focus on them so much, but the defense was just flying, smothering the Knicks. At one point, I think the score was like 12-2, 10-2, 8-2, something like that. Again, part of that's just cold shooting by the Knicks, but it's also caused by the Pelicans. One thing I want to spend a little bit more time on maybe next week is the fact that they've mixed some zone in, and I haven't gone back and looked at the film of this because literally the game just ended. But I couldn't remember if I got the Michael Jackson, that was funny. Got the mobile setup here for everything. This was what I used at Media Day. So, you saw them mixing zone against Memphis Grizzlies. I got to go back and watch and see if they did that against the New York Knicks. If you're in the chat and you saw that, let me know. But I like what they're doing. It forces those turnovers. It forces people to just take bad contested shots that they hopefully miss. So if you hear anyone saying, well, the Knicks couldn't shoot, and I guarantee you, and I don't want to be mean to Locked On Knicks here, but they're probably going to be like, well, we just had a bad shooting night and that was that. The Pelicans also factor into that. And I think that what is also something that you really got to keep in mind when it comes to the defense. They are doing exactly what they want to do. This is also why I've said I don't know if they need a ton more rim protection. The defense is good. Maybe you need to invest that money, the draft capital or what have you, in other areas. But to slow Julius Randle down like that, right? Josh Hart down like that, Jalen Brunson down like that. We could go down the list, right? Letting Dante DiVincenzo take 7 shots and only making 2 of them. It's by design. That's good. Emmanuel Quickley, who could be 6th man of the year coming off the bench from them, only scored 10 points in this. They're limiting those kind of guys and trying to force the ball into other players' hands, and it just doesn't really work for them. Guys are going to get theirs. RJ Barrett did. That's okay. But the Pelicans did a very good job of just doing what they need to do. The microphone is the SM58, by the way. That is correct on the mobile setup here and everything. So, let's keep talking here. I'll answer some of your questions here. This dude says, love the defense. That's a great name. Absolutely. Marco Villanueva says, nice 2-0 start. If you're an everydayer, let me know in the chat as well. We'll get into some of the other things that we want to see here. There's a Pelican song that I got to check out apparently as well from Superman. Okay, so one thing I do want to mention, actually, this kind of is great. There's a lineup that the Pelicans use that I think is pretty effective. And I'd like to see them expand it to be more with Zion and Brandon Ingram. They run a lineup, and they've done this in both games now, and I believe they'll keep doing this, and the rotation's going to change as soon as Jose Alvarado comes back. I don't think you'll see Kyra Lewis Jr. minutes then anymore, and there will be other rotations and things. But they ran one that I believe is CJ McCollum, Dyson Daniels, Jordan Hawkins, Matt Ryan, and Jonas Valanciunas. It's basically CJ, 2 or 3 other shooters, and Jonas, and it works. It kills teams because they're making those 3-point shots. Matt Ryan didn't have a great game. I think he only made 1 here. But you have CJ's the shooter. Matt Ryan is the shooter. Sometimes they'll run it with Herb Jones instead of Dyson Daniels. That's fine. But you have 2 shooters, a defender, and then your big man. There's another player in there too. I'm just kind of spacing because it's in the moment and I haven't had a chance to fully think about everything here. But it works. One thing I want them to do more is when they run those 3 shooter line. Oh, it's Jordan Hawkins. So it's Hawkins is a shooter, CJ is a shooter, Matt Ryan is a shooter. 1 defender in either Herb or Dyson, and then your center in Jonas Valanciunas. You have 3 shooters out there. I'd really like to see them do that kind of lineup with maybe without Jonas Valanciunas, but more Zion Williamson there. Or take out Dyson Daniels, that defender, and put in Brandon Ingram. You need shooting around Zion. You need shooting around Brandon Ingram to open up the court a little bit for them, and they're not doing that quite enough. You still see some spacing issues with the offense, particularly when Zion is there, when BI is out there sometimes too. And while those two are working well together, there is an area to improve on that. So that's something to kind of just keep an eye on going forward, I think, when it comes to all of that. I'd like to see them really run those just like shooter lineups and everything. So that should be the goal going forward with it all. So I'd like to see that. I think the rotation in the lineups are going to change a little bit as guys get healthy. Again, once Jose's back, they're going to completely take, I would imagine, Kyra Lewis Jr. out of the rotation, out of the lineups. I don't think he's played particularly well. So you'll see things change in the near future. We'll see kind of where like Najee Marshall fits into. Those are kind of two big unknowns, but there's room to improve, and the Pelicans are already looking pretty good. We don't want to fully overreact after 2 games, but they also have won both of them, and 2-0 is pretty cool, much better than being 1-1 or 0-2, right? So I don't think we need to complain too much. We should be pretty happy with how everything is going. So coming up next, let's talk a little bit more about Dyson Daniels, about Herb Jones, because I was pretty impressed and pleased with all of them and what they've done here in this game. So I'm excited to talk more about them. We'll answer some of your questions too. Keep going for a little bit. Saturday night, way to spend your time with me. If you're at the game and you're somehow tuning in, I think this is awesome. That's a lot of fun. So again, I appreciate you all taking the time out of your evening to watch the show and hang out with me here. And let's talk about it. I will answer that question from ABJ504. It's not even a question, but a statement. He gets him read because he is like the ultimate everydayer. Let's do all that coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Before we get to that, though, today's episode of Locked On Pelicans, I'm super excited to tell you about Ibotta. How's a free Thanksgiving sound? This year, Ibotta is here to give you cash back and help make sure your Thanksgiving table is complete, because who wants turkey without the gravy? Starting November 1st, for the 4th year in a row, Ibotta, like on the Pelicans jerseys, by the way, Ibotta is giving you 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving feast. Just add the offers in the app to redeem for everything you need to make your Thanksgiving feast complete. And all you have to do is shop at your favorite retailers and upload your receipt. Because Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Other apps give you points. Ibotta is just going to give you real cash back that you can cash out to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. It's also available, and you can use it on hundreds of online brands and retailers too, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. So download the Ibotta app, again, like on the Pelicans jersey, and use code LOCKED to get 100% cash back on your Thanksgiving dinner starting November 1st. Just go to the App Store or Google Play, download the free Ibotta app, I use it, and use code LOCKED. That's Ibotta, IBOTTA, in the App Store or Google Play. Use code LOCKED. Again, Ibotta, like on the Pelicans jerseys. Thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We are here Monday through Friday, breaking down everything you want to know about this Pelicans team, the #1 Pelicans podcast. We've been doing the live shows, been doing these after games. Sometimes guests pop on the show and things like that. That's been a lot of fun. Ross Jackson on Wednesday after their opening night win against the Memphis Grizzlies. We're here live in the arena after. I'm thrilled the Wi-Fi is holding up, so that's really cool to me. This is really fun. We'll be doing more of these, and I'm excited to be spending the time with y'all. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Become an everydayer. Listen Monday through Friday. If you see me out in person, whether it's at the game or out, it happens, yell at me. Come say hi. Totally love it. Want to chat with you. Hear what you have to think about the team. And yeah, tell a friend to watch. I don't know. Y'all know what to do here and how to support the channel. We do have the Locked On Pelicans Insiders. The link will be in the description down below once I upload and update everything after the game. So great win. Pelicans 2-0. Dominating the New York Knicks. You know, two of the more impressive guys, I think, and things were a little bit quiet, and were Dyson Daniels and Herb Jones here. Herb Jones hitting threes is massive. He had 2 threes in this game. When Herb Jones starts hitting these threes, it's going to open things up so much more and make things more incredible. He was aggressive. He had 10 points in this one. He was doing everything you want to see. We know how good he is defensively. He blocked a 3-pointer too, which was really cool, and that's also a very rare thing. I was just trying to bring over some guests to get them on the show here, and then they just walked away. So what you love to see, though, is him just contributing on offense. I think he had 10 points in this game, making 2 threes. He was 4 of 6. You'd like him to actually take more threes, but eventually teams are going to start guarding him on the perimeter. Eventually they're going to start guarding him because he's making threes. Made a couple of threes in the first game, too. I think he was 2 of 3, so he's shooting above 50% through 2 games. Small sample size. Don't read too much into that. But you know what? If he's contributing on offense, other teams are eventually going to have to defend him, and that means there's going to be better space for Zion Williamson, for Brandon Ingram, and that is just so big, in my opinion. AJ Roman says Zion can dominate if Herb shoots like that. Yeah, exactly. He absolutely can. Spacing is going to be important. ABJ504 here says he thought the spacing was better. I agree. I think there's still issues at times when BI and Zion are on the court. That just kind of comes from their styles of play and different things like that. So they're still going to figure out some of these lineups. You know, Trey Murphy coming back is really going to help with a lot of that as well. So that's something to kind of keep in mind too. But Herb Jones gives you so much defensively. And if he can give you a little bit more offensively, which is what he is doing, like, absolutely, you're going to do exceptionally well, and I thought he played great in this game. Same for Dyson Daniels. You know, this is a guy who has been their leading minute getter off the bench, second leading minute getter off the bench. Matt Ryan actually played more than him. Matt Ryan, again, 1 for 8 for 3. All of his shots, by the way, were 3-point attempts. But Dyson Daniels played almost 22 minutes in this one, had a poor shooting night, just 2 points, 1 of 7, but 4 rebounds, 3 assists. The defense is great. All you're looking for him to do this year, I think, is contribute in like one way offensively, make good passes, and he had an amazing pass, I think it was to Zion Williamson or someone like that, in the first half, like as an outlet pass after grabbing a rebound, pushing the pace in transition, which was really good. You know, if he can do it through the passing, if he can do it through the shooting or scoring at the rim, and he's showing off a little bit of touch. The one bucket he made was like a nice little like floater runner thing. If you can do more of that, he's going to really be able to contribute, and you'll see him playing a bigger role, and it's just going to open things up more. They're going to need some more offense off the bench, and it definitely can come from a guy like Dyson Daniels. I think another guy to also mention kind of in that same group was Jordan Hawkins. 3 of 6 from 3, 9 points. That's what his job is, right? Make your threes and you're going to be able to contribute and you'll get minutes here. But he also plays taller than he is, like bigger, larger. Probably taller, I think, is the right idea here, because he grabbed 4 boards in this one, I think it was. Let me find the stats here. 4 rebounds. He did really well. I was pretty impressed by what he was doing and his ways to contribute in other areas than the 3-point shooting, when we kind of figured maybe he was one-dimensional, and he's showing you a little bit more. That makes me feel a little bit better about what his ceiling could be, I think, at the NBA level, where maybe he was going to be somewhat limited before, and now, I don't know, he might end up being not, and maybe you'll be able to play him more. I think his minutes are going to go down as the season goes on, or as guys get healthy in the next couple of weeks. But right now, I was pretty pleased with the shooting and everything else he added. There just wasn't a ton to complain about in this game. One of the worst things I saw was Matt Ryan's defense. That was bad. Zeller didn't play bad. No, you know, he's useful. That's why they bring him in, and, you know, he fills a role, and it's kind of as simple as that. So if you got another question or two, throw them in the chat. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up here. It's after 9 p.m. This has been fun. We'll do more of these for sure. Again, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Tell a friend about the show. We are the #1 Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll keep doing these. These are great. Yeah, we got over 240 people at 9 p.m. on a Saturday night when it's like Halloween and everything, and people could be doing other things, and this fan base is showing up to talk about a win. Totally cool. This is awesome. So let me see here. Milton Burrell says, hey, Jake, how will Trey replace Herb in the starting lineup if Herb is playing at this level? I don't know if he will. You know, one of the questions we're going to do a full show on this. We didn't end up needing to because of the injury to Trey. I'll give you an update on that too. Was like, who would be starting, Trey or Herb? And I don't know. I think you make an argument for either of them. One thing I will say here is that Trey Murphy was warming up before the game. I was out here early. I'm here early every game, and he looks good. He's moving really well, going through full warm-ups, doesn't look injured. I'm sure he just needs more time to heal and recover, but I would imagine that he is probably, it's a guess. This isn't being told by anyone or anything like that. It's that I would assume he's going to be on the earlier end of the timeline, which makes me feel pretty good about all of that. So I'm happy. This was a good game. Trey's going to take minutes away from like Jordan Hawkins, Kyra Lewis Jr. depending, but I think Kyra's going to lose his minutes to Jose Alvarado, and then those minutes will be better. So you're not even seeing this team kind of reach their full potential or anything like that. So there is a lot of opportunity for them to get better. They're 2-0. Tough test on Monday against the Warriors. Then you've got OKC, I believe, and then you also have the Pistons on the second night of a back-to-back on Thursday. So it's going to be a busy week for the Pelicans. Let's see what they do. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast. We are the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. Thanks for being here. This was cool. This was fun. We'll be doing more of these, more live shows. Everything here is mobile, so we can do all of this. Maybe we'll do it in the concourse or something. We get people on the show after the game. Maybe we'll even do this from a watch party somewhere, which we could do as well. So again, I appreciate you all so much. It means the world to me that you want to spend part of your Saturday night with me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be back with y'all on Monday. Really, Sunday night is when you'll see the show.